Welcome to the Deep Dive. This time we're tackling this really intense speech, The Conspiracy to Destroy Pack Boys by Dr. Jawanza Kunjufu.
Powerful stuff.
Yeah, you sent it in because, well, you're really interested in the challenges that young black men face in America today.
For sure.
And what can we do about it?
Exactly.
And so this speech is jam-packed. It's got stats. It's got historical context and a call to action.
And it's more than just laying out the problem. It's like a framework.
Oh,
You know, and even that word conspiracy that he uses just makes you realize this isn't just about individuals failing. It's about, like, these big forces at play.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that really struck me right off the bat was a statistic.
Yeah.
He says that more black boys are born than girls, but by adulthood, there are almost 2 available black women for every 1 available black man. And so where are all those young men going?
Yeah, it makes you stop and think.
It's like he's highlighting this crisis that's been going on, and we need to pay attention to it.
Yeah?
Prisons, early deaths.
Yeah.
Like from things like homicide, suicide, health issues.
Yeah.
He even brings up interracial marriage as a factor.
Wow.
And the biggest thing is, he's saying it's not a black men problem, it's a black boys problem.
Oh, okay.
So the things that lead to this difference, this imbalance, start really young.
Yeah, and you mentioned wanting to understand those challenges that these young men face.
Right.
And I thought that's where the 4th grade syndrome came in. And it was really interesting. He talks about how black boys often excel in those really early years of education, but then around 4th grade, they just hit this wall academically, their performance just drops.
Yeah, it's fascinating because it seems like it's not necessarily ability. It's like something changes in the system.
Right. Or in how they're seen or treated in the system.
Right.
So there's a few factors that he points to.
Okay.
One is this shift from a more holistic kind of learning to this, like, focus on just analytical, left-brained thinking.
Like maybe the way that subjects are taught just doesn't resonate with some of these boys.
Exactly, yeah. And then you've got this issue of negative perceptions, low expectations from teachers.
Oh, okay.
And he specifically calls out female teachers, right?
Yeah.
Who maybe don't understand how to engage these young black boys in the classroom.
So it's almost like the education system itself is starts to kind of work against them.
Yeah, and if you go back to that conspiracy idea, these early experiences could really be part of this larger statistical reality.
Wow.
Like, think about it.
Right.
If a young boy's constantly told he's not good enough or he doesn't see himself in what he's learning, it's going to mess with his self-esteem.
Of course.
His motivation, like his whole path.
Right, like a domino effect.
Yeah, starting in elementary school.
Wow.
But he doesn't stop there. He also talks about men.
Okay.
Or the lack of positive black men as role models in a lot of these young black boys' lives.
Yeah, the absence of men in homes because of high rates of single-parent households. Then in schools, again, predominantly female teaching staff.
Yeah.
And then even on TV.
Right, like everywhere they look, there's not these strong, positive role models.
And that's got to have an impact on
huge impact.
How they see themselves and their potential.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
He's saying they end up looking to the streets for guidance.
Oh, wow.
Where they're more likely to find those negative influences that are going to pull them away from academics and success.
So it's not just what's happening in the classroom.
Right.
It's also the messages that they're getting.
From everywhere.
From society at large.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he's really saying that this lack of positive role models makes those black boys so much more susceptible to all those destructive forces. And remember that statistic we were talking about?
Right. Yeah.
It all plays into it.
So if these young men are facing, you know, challenges both inside and outside the classroom, what solutions does Dr. Kunjufu propose?
Well, he's got some interesting thoughts on parents.
Okay.
He really separates this idea of parental involvement versus parental support.
Okay.
And he suggests that attending PTA meetings or just school events, that's not enough.
So what's parental support then?
He gives some specific examples.
Yeah.
You know, it's about being actively engaged in your child's, monitoring those peer groups, making sure they're at the library. It's being there truly present
right.
in their development.
And it makes sense because kids pick up on those cues, right?
Totally.
Like if you're invested versus just going through the motions.
They know.
Yeah.
And it goes further than that. He talks about empowering Black parents to become active in their kids' education. He's like challenging educators to treat them as partners, not just people who receive information. He suggests schools offer workshops and resources specifically for Black parents.
That's a good point because parents need to feel equipped to advocate for their children, right?
Yeah.
And to navigate this really complicated education system.
Right.
And he's saying that when parents feel empowered, when they feel like they have a voice, a stake in their children's education, it creates that more supportive environment for those children to thrive.
Yeah.
We've already covered so much, but there's one more piece that really spoke to me, and it goes back to that idea of the conspiracy.
Yeah.
And it's self-esteem.
Right.
Especially when it comes to racial identity.
This is where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
Because he's not just talking about, like, your great feel-good affirmations.
Right.
He's talking about the deep psychological impact of racism.
Yeah.
And how it can lead to what he calls internalized racism.
Oh, wow.
Where Black children are actually taught to devalue their own features and their own culture.
That's heartbreaking.
It is. It's really sad.
Yeah.
And he argues that plays right into the conspiracy.
Yeah.
It's like undermining a whole group of people before they can even realize their potential.
So what can we do?
Well, he calls for celebrating Blackness in all its forms.
Okay.
And sells a sense of pride in Black history and heritage.
Yeah.
He talks about, like, instead of asking, where were you born? Asking, who are you?
Wow.
Like, understand your identity, your heritage.
Right.
And have pride in it.
It's not just about existing. It's about understanding your place in the world.
Exactly.
And the power that comes with that.
He's saying we need to fight that conspiracy by building up their sense of self-worth, their pride, so they can see themselves as these capable, brilliant individuals they are.
That's amazing.
Yeah. It's like this focus on identity. It's not just about feeling good.
Right.
It directly counters that conspiracy that Dr. Kunjufu was talking about.
Yeah.
He uses this powerful analogy of a baseball team that's lined up to destroy Black boys.
Okay. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
It's a little jarring.
It is.
But it definitely gets your attention.
Oh, yeah.
Who are the players on this team?
He starts with some big names, like Ronald Reagan, David Rockefeller, representing those political and economic systems that have often historically worked against Black communities.
And he doesn't just stop there, right?
No.
He points a finger at some within the Black community itself.
Yeah, that's where it gets a little controversial. But he's trying to make us look at everything, all the different factors.
Yeah.
So he talks about mothers who maybe unknowingly perpetuate some harmful dynamics. Female teachers who, again, maybe don't get those unique learning styles. And even, the negative influence of the media. So it's about understanding, like, even good intentions can sometimes contribute to a problem.
So we really need to be aware of the messages we're sending.
Absolutely.
Even unintentionally.
Yes, even if you don't realize it.
Right.
And how those messages might be feeding into this conspiracy.
Wow.
He even uses this concept of active versus passive conspirators.
Oh, okay.
Maybe you're not the one up there swinging the bat.
Right.
But you're standing by, letting it happen.
That's a powerful image.
It is.
It makes you really examine where you stand.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And a big area where he thinks we can move from passive to active is education. He really pushes for rethinking the whole curriculum.
Okay.
Moving away from what he calls that Eurocentric perspective and embracing a truly multicultural approach.
I'm curious, what does that look like?
Well, he gives a great example. He talks about Columbus arriving in the Americas.
Right.
He says, Europeans might call it discovery, but Native Americans, it's invasion.
Right.
Same event, totally different interpretations.
Wow.
Depending on whose point of view is centered.
That's a really good point.
And he says a multicultural curriculum would show both sides.
Right.
Let students come to their own conclusions.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It's about showing that nuance.
Yes.
Not just one dominant narrative.
And he doesn't just talk about the content.
Okay.
He also talks about teaching styles.
Okay.
He says traditional education focuses too much on this analytical, left-brained approach.
Yeah.
But Black children, especially boys, might do better with those right-brained activities.
Like
Music, sports,
yeah,
art.
Oh, okay.
He contrasts like a typical left-brained lesson, read the definition, write the definition.
Okay, yeah.
But then a right-brained approach would be read the definition, now draw what you think you read.
Oh, wow.
Engaging those different learning styles.
And that ties back to the fourth grade syndrome.
Exactly.
Right. If you're not engaging them in the way they learn best.
Yeah, it doesn't resonate.
No wonder those scores start to slip.
Right.
Yeah.
And here's where the teacher is so important.
Okay.
Dr. Kunjufu has a lot to say about teacher expectations.
Okay.
And how they feed into that conspiracy.
This is powerful.
It is.
A little scary, too.
It can be.
So, are we saying that a teacher's belief or lack of belief in a student can actually affect how well they do?
It's a real thing.
Wow.
Even if the teacher doesn't realize it.
Yeah.
They might lower their expectations based on race, income, gender.
Wow.
Even how the kid dresses.
Okay.
And those low expectations become a self-fulfilling prophecy.
So if you're constantly told you're not going to amount to much, you start to believe it.
Yeah.
And then your behavior reflects that.
Exactly.
Oh, wow. It's like a vicious cycle.
It is. So how do we break it?
That's the question.
Right.
How do we make sure teachers are setting those high expectations for everybody?
Well, he talks about a program called TISA.
Okay. Teacher
Expectation Student Achievement.
Okay.
And they use video cameras.
Wow.
And peer observations.
Interesting.
To help teachers see their own biases.
Okay.
Like how those biases might be showing up.
To make the invisible.
Right, make it visible.
Yeah.
Help them see their blind spots.
And we can address them.
Exactly. It's not about accusing teachers of being racist.
Right.
It's about recognizing we all have biases.
Right.
And those can affect how we interact with each other.
And it's not just what they say, right?
No.
It's those subtle things, too.
Yeah, the body language, tone of voice.
How much attention they're giving.
Right, even that.
To different students.
Yeah, he gives this example
of
two students. One's a high achiever.
Okay.
One's struggling.
Okay.
The struggling student gets called on, gets the answer wrong.
Okay.
Teacher moves on quickly.
Yeah.
But the high achiever gets the answer wrong.
Right.
The teacher spends more time with them.
Wow.
Prompts them, encourages them to try again.
That seems like a little thing.
It does.
But over time,
huge impact.
It's got to build up.
On their self-esteem.
On their belief in themselves.
And it all ties back to that conspiracy idea.
Right.
It's not always outright discrimination.
Yeah.
It's those subtle messages that chip away at their sense of worth.
Wow. So how do we change this?
Well, Dr. Kunjufu says teachers need to be more than instructors.
Okay.
More like coaches.
Oh, okay.
Who are invested in the whole student. He wants them to address motivation, self-esteem, cultural identity, alongside the academics.
So a good teacher doesn't just teach, they inspire.
Exactly.
They motivate, they create that environment.
Where everyone feels valued and empowered to succeed.
This is about a totally different approach to education.
It is. It's a huge shift.
Wow.
And it has to happen everywhere,
Right.
From the people making policies, to the administrators, to the teachers.
To the parents.
To the parents, everyone.
Yeah.
We need a system that truly supports all students.
Especially those who've been marginalized.
Yes, absolutely.
So we're really talking about a whole different way of looking at education.
Yeah, like a new paradigm.
Yeah.
That recognizes those unique needs and strengths the Black boys have.
Yeah.
And challenges those systemic forces that he talks about.
And it's a paradigm that benefits everybody.
Exactly.
Well, not just Black boys.
When the system is more equitable.
Right.
More inclusive. Everyone has a chance to succeed.
It's not about taking from one group to give to another.
No.
It's about expanding, so everyone has a piece.
And speaking of expanding, Dr. Kunjufu talks about this idea of cultural capital.
Oh, yeah.
And it's so interesting. He's saying Black children come to school with this wealth of knowledge, experiences, perspectives that are often just ignored.
So they're already bringing so much to the table, but it's not being used.
Exactly. He talks about how Black children are often fluent in multiple dialects. They've got this deep understanding of music and rhythm, strong oral tradition.
Right.
But instead of seeing these as strengths, the system tries to erase them.
Wow.
Like they have to conform to this dominant Eurocentric way of being.
That can be so damaging.
It's really harmful.
Yeah.
It tells them that a part of who they are is wrong or not good enough. And he's saying, we need to change our thinking.
Okay.
and see these differences as assets.
Yeah, not deficits.
Exactly. And he suggests that teachers should incorporate Black music, art, literature, history into what they're teaching.
Yeah.
Not just for Black History Month,
right,
but all the time.
making it part of the classroom.
Yeah, making Black culture visible, valued.
Absolutely.
And it's not just about adding it into existing subjects.
Okay.
He also suggests having completely new courses
Oh, wow.
that focus on Black history, literature, culture.
Interesting.
Like courses in African languages,
Okay.
Black dance, drumming.
So it's not just an add-on.
Right.
It's a
saying that let's make it a core part of learning.
I love that.
And he really believes that when Black children see themselves in what they're learning, when their culture is valued and celebrated,
Right.
it can have a huge impact on their self-esteem,
Right.
their motivation,
Right.
how well they do in school.
Yeah. This is making me think about my own education
Yeah.
and how much I didn't learn about Black history
That's powerful to think about.
and culture.
Yeah.
I can only imagine what it would have been like
Yeah.
to have had those perspectives earlier on.
And that's his point.
Yeah.
He argues that a truly inclusive education benefits everyone.
Yeah.
Not just those who've been marginalized.
Right.
When we learn about different cultures,
Right.
it broadens how we see the world,
Yeah.
challenges our biases,
Yeah.
helps us become more empathetic, compassionate people.
I think that's what makes his work so important.
It's really inspiring.
Yeah.
It's not just about one group of people.
Right.
It's about a better world for all of us.
Yeah.
And he's not just talking about it, he's giving solutions.
Yeah.
Things we can actually do.
You mentioned at the beginning
Yeah.
you were interested in solutions.
Uh-huh.
What are some things that you think people can take away?
Well, first of all, I think he's challenging us to look at our own biases.
Right. We all have them, whether we realize it or not.
Right.
And they affect how we interact with the world.
It's about that internal work.
Right. Yeah. Self-reflection.
Ah.
To see those blind spots.
Yeah.
And then challenge them.
And it's ongoing, right?
It is. It's a process.
Yeah.
You're never really done.
Yeah.
It's about being aware, questioning your assumptions,
Right.
being open to learning.
And growing.
Yeah. Always growing.
And that can take so many forms.
Right. Reading,
Yeah.
listening to podcasts.
Talking to people.
Right. People with different experiences.
Yeah.
It's about looking for different perspectives.
Yeah.
Challenging yourself.
Yeah.
Being okay with being uncomfortable sometimes.
Dr. Kunjufu also talks a lot about mentoring.
Yeah.
Adults being positive role models for young Black boys.
Right. He's got some good ideas.
Yeah.
You know, it could be something small like volunteering
Okay.
at a school or community center,
Yeah.
being a big brother, big sister.
Or just being there for a young person
Right.
who needs a positive adult in their life.
Just showing up.
Yeah.
Being present.
Being that role model.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he also encourages adults to talk to young people
Okay.
about their own experiences.
Okay.
You know, their struggles, their triumphs.
Yeah.
He thinks sharing our stories can be so empowering.
Right. You're not alone.
Exactly.
Others have faced challenges and gotten through them.
Yeah, it humanizes things.
That's it, relatable.
Yeah, and shows there's hope.
Yeah, things can get better.
And he says, don't just talk about the problems.
Right.
Talk about solutions, too.
Okay.
Let's show them they can make a difference.
Right.
That they can change their communities.
That sense of agency.
Exactly. Their voices matter.
Yeah.
They have the power.
Yeah.
And it's not just adults mentoring young people.
Oh, okay.
It's young people mentoring each other, too.
Okay. Peer to peer.
Yeah, that's so important.
Creating that sense of community.
Yeah. But...
Knowing you're not alone.
Right, and it helps them build leadership skills.
Okay.
Gives them a chance to step up
Take responsibility.
and make a difference in their friends' lives.
Oh, we've covered so much.
We have.
And I feel like we've just scratched the surface.
Yeah, there's so much more.
of his work.
It's really incredible.
Yeah.
So many topics.
Yeah.
He goes so deep.
Yeah.
It's really transformative.
If there was one thing you want our listener to take away.
Just one thing.
Yeah.
It would be this. Dr. Kunjufu's work is a call to action.
Okay.
It's a challenge to each of us
Huh.
to look at our role in these systems of oppression.
Yeah.
Do we keep them going or do we dismantle them?
Wow.
We all have a responsibility to make a more just and equitable world.
Right.
And that starts with being honest with ourselves
Yeah.
about our biases, learning, growing,
Right.
and taking action,
Yeah.
even small steps.
It's moving beyond awareness.
Right.
To actually doing something.
Exactly. And that can look different for everyone. You know, mentoring,
Yeah.
supporting Black-owned businesses,
Right.
advocating for policy changes.
Yeah. Finding what works for you.
Yeah. Using your skills to make a difference.
And even if we can't change everything overnight,
Right.
every little bit helps.
Every act of kindness.
Yeah.
Every step towards justice.
Every moment of mentorship.
It all adds up.
Yeah.
It makes a difference.
This has been so powerful.
It really has.
Thank you so much for taking us on this deep dive.
It's been my pleasure.
Into Dr. Kunjufu's work.
I hope you, the listener, have a better understanding now of the challenges and the solutions for young Black boys in America today. And I hope it makes you want to take action in your own life and your community.
And if you want to learn more about Dr. Kunjufu's work,
we've got a link to his website in the show notes.
Great.
Thanks for being with us on this deep dive.
Yeah.
And remember, even small acts of courage and compassion can make a world of difference.